Hello and welcome to Tech TV. Today we have a special debate on AI where we have three guests who are going to be discussing some of the really deep issues around what AI is, how well it is coping at this moment in time, and whether there's a path to AGI using the current LLM models. Now, Pete, tell us who the guests are that we have here today.
Well, we've got three esteemed guests in the studio. We have Leslie Wilcocks, Professor Leslie Wilcocks of the London School of Economics, author of 80 books on technology in the workplace. He's an Emeritus Professor of Work Technology and Globalization. I could actually say so much about the things that Leslie has written about, and it would take me ever such a long time. But his major research interests are service automation, robotic process automation, cognitive automation of knowledge work, artificial intelligence, and so much more. We've also got Neil Barrett. Professor Neil Barrett studied mathematics and computer science at Nottingham University, where he also completed his PhD. He became the UK's youngest lecturer following his appointment at York University in 1985. He's been a professor of computer criminology at the Royal Military College of Science, Cranfield University. He's appeared as an expert witness in a number of court cases, but I suppose probably, most fundamentally, Neil was a UK government advisor, instrumental in the creation of the UK's National High-Tech Crime Unit, which is now part of the National Crime Agency, and he was responsible for a €1.2 billion fine that was levied against Microsoft by the EU. Last but not least is the sponsor of the debate, Tarique Mustafa, founder, CEO, CTO, and the inventor behind Chorology's AI-patented deep AI-based compliance technology platform. He's recognized by the industry as a leading visionary and expert in data compliance and knowledge, data security posture enforcement, and Tarique's groundbreaking innovations in intelligently automated data discovery, classification, and risk assessment. Again, as with all of our experts, I could go on and on and on, but that would take us time and take time away from what we're going to talk about. So,
diving straight into the debate, we wanted to kick off with a bit of a level setting around understanding AI. So, Pete, I just wondered whether you wanted to kick off with some questions in terms of where we are at today.
Well, I think where we are at today is almost extremely puzzling. There are so many people who are sending press releases to me that are saying that AI is about to take over the world and that the world will never, ever be the same again. At the same time, I get a lot of press releases from a lot of other people on the other side of the fence who are saying it doesn't work and that there are some real fundamental issues with the technology. And I think that that's the thing that we need to challenge now. What we have to do is we have to look at what those problems are. I mean, many people are likening this to the internet bubble. And the internet bubble, with a little more fairness, the internet technology seems to have been a lot more settled than the AI technology. So, without any more ado, I'm going to ask our panel what they think. Where do you think we are now, Leslie?
We're in the midst of a massive hype on this, and we need to bring it down to earth, what AI is and what it can do. It's very impressive stuff, but it's not what everyone is exactly saying these days. I think the hype is more intense than I've ever seen it. I've been in the industry since 1980, and the hype is so intense now that it's not just the pigs that are flying, I like to say, it's the whole farm. And a simple phrase brings it down to earth, really, which is, if it's artificial, it's not intelligent. And if it's intelligent, it's not artificial. And I think we've been trapped into, we're into a language trap that misleads us. It's based on a false brain-computer metaphor. What we're finding out in neuroscience these days takes us further and further away from the idea that the brain is anything like a computer and vice versa. AI is it's not, it doesn't think, it doesn't feel, it doesn't imagine, it doesn't create, it doesn't empathize, know, learn like humans. It is not a brain or a mind. It is never going to be in quite that way. It has other characteristics, but what we have here is probably the illusion of intelligent behavior at best, I think. I'll stop there because the other two are very knowledgeable about this.
I would say thank you for doing my job for me. Neil, what's your take on this?
I think if we define AI as an artificial thing that's doing something that looks intelligent, we've kind of got there. It does look intelligent. It does do things which would require intelligence were it to be done by a human. So it qualifies on that basis. It does do some surprising things. It does some clever things. It also does some stupid things and some simple-minded things. And it truly isn't yet anything near to where it could develop to. I mean, with baby steps just at present. This really is the beginning of it rather than the middle or close to the end. Baby steps, but it's producing things which are surprising, useful, scary. I think I would say at this point it's full of potential. That would be my take on it.
Tarique, you're sitting there, Silicon Valley. You talk to these people all of the time. So what's your take on this? And it's a topic that you're particularly concerned about.
Yeah, yes, sure, absolutely. I do agree with both Neil and Leslie, my esteemed colleagues here, and I agree a little bit more with Neil. The definition, see, what AI really lacks right now is a sound scientific definition, what AI should mean, first of all. Okay. And the current hype cycle has created hype beyond hypes. This is the third hype cycle that I am experiencing myself. The previous one, second hype cycle, which collapsed completely during the early 1990s. I was in my PhD program at University of Southern California in artificial intelligence. So I witnessed that collapse firsthand being a student at that time. And now we are seeing the third hype cycle, which by the way is also going to collapse. Okay, this is a prediction, just like the previous two. So why do I say it will collapse? It will collapse in the sense that there will be some very good results coming out of this hype cycle. Like we see, this LLM models and those things. But keep in mind, LLM model was invented in the previous hype cycle. Machine learning, neural networks, which was one of the two success stories of the second hype cycle before it collapsed, is the main driver engine behind all these LLMs and learning models and whatnot, right? So this one also is going to collapse. It will yield some good results. The order of magnitude is going to be proportionately much bigger. Previous hype cycle, total investment must have been like a few billion. This time it is many $100 billion already invested. So yeah, it is going to collapse again because of the hype which has gone beyond the definition of hype.
So what you've all mentioned that there are limitations. Leslie, why do you think so many people are pouring so much money into this? I mean, the figures are astounding. I got an email even this afternoon saying that somebody had even more billions poured into the particular AI project that they were working on.
Well, I think they've got more money than they know what to do with. A lot of the people pouring money into this. And then there are a lot of people following on from the momentum that they develop. But it's noticeable that it's mainly the technology companies that are doing this, and they've been known to have done this before. I mean, I can think of IBM and Watson as an example, an infamous example of this. I think they got about 5% of the returns they expected from their massive investment in that particular cognitive automation initiative. I think that's one reason. It's too much money available and not knowing where to put it. And I think there are a lack of other things around for people to invest in other than technology. No other obvious targets at this stage.
Now, yeah, I can remember a long way back. You used to be the head of technology for Group Bull in France. Why are big companies getting so interested in this technology? Is it an arms race?
It is an arms race, yes. And you've got to look at the amount of money, the amount of resources that have been poured into computer centers to support it right now. It's kind of the only game in town, as far as a lot of places are concerned. A huge percentage of the overall compute capability, if you want to map it like that, the compute capability, a sizable proportion of that is now aimed at LLMs or some sort of auxiliary processing around that. So why are they sending the money there? It is the only game in town. That's I'm afraid where we're at.
Tarique, why is this the only game in town? I mean, there you are. You're in Silicon Valley. You must be in the fulcrum of all of this. You must be seeing all of these venture capitalists stalking around with wallets, ready to rip out and dump loads of cash around.
Sure. So very honest response to this one. And I'm not known for my diplomacy. Brazen greed. Naked brazen greed on part of 2-3 set of people. Venture capitalists, Wall Street, and entrepreneurs. In these are the three hallmarks of this third hype cycle. See, the previous two hype cycles, they were created by academicians, people who really genuinely thought that they can do the research and address some tough problems to enable AI. They succeeded in some easier ones and they failed in the remaining ones. First of all, in R&D, there is no failure. There's only learning.
Mm-hmm.
This one is very different because this hype cycle has been created by people who are not exactly very well versed in AI technology, on the technical level. They are basically entrepreneurs who have no business being in the AI business. I'll be very blunt here. Okay. Very few of them have any knowledge of the fact that AI and ML, they will do their hand waving, sitting on the high risen chairs on the stage, waving their hands. Oh, we are going to invest in AI and ML, AI and ML. For heaven's sake, it's like saying algebra and mathematics. Algebra is mathematics. ML is one of the branches learning of AI. Okay, they are that ignorant, but they see an opportunity because they have created a new hype cycle over the last 7-8 years, and now they have to cash on it, right? So basically, a lot of those investors who are investing in this is a terminology in Silicon Valley called FOMO, FOMO, fear of missing out. They don't even know what they're investing in. It's the same thing that happened in the internet just prior to the internet bubble, circa 1999 and 2000, if you recall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So major thing is basically FOMO, for fear of missing out. So all these people who invest their, in venture capital people, they are investing their money, throwing like crazy, like never seen before, billions and billions of hundreds of billions of dollars. What if it succeeds? Am I going to miss out? Am my big enterprise going to disappear? Therefore, we see this in massive influx of investment in this space. So this is greed driven this time. Previously, the two hype cycles, they were genuinely people thought, intellectuals, academicians, true researchers, that they will solve the hard problems. Right now, it is basically the fruit of the previous hype cycle, machine learning and LLM models, which is being put to use this time. So this is my very firm opinion, and Pete, you cannot do anything to change that.
Well, Leslie, you've seen technology introduced right the way across the workplace, right the way across the offices, factories, and you followed that. So, is AI all things to all people? Is it everything in the way that it's been presented? I mean, is this the problem with it, that it can only be used in certain places and people haven't quite realised that, as Tarique was just pointing out?
Well, it's AI has become a marketing term, let's face it. So it applies to anything. I mean, there are a lot of people who are investing in AI actually aren't doing AI. It's quite staggering when you investigate some of these companies that you go into. In the same way, you go into companies and you say, "Are you doing AI?" and they say yes, and you're sort of led to this little pilot going on somewhere, an obvious application that's no risk to anyone. And most of the surveys that have been done in the last 2 years show not a massive uptake at all of AI. They all say they're doing it. They have to. It was like in the internet bubble. If you didn't have an online strategy, your share price lost value.
Yeah.
So it's a bit going a bit like that. But the actual uptake is extremely slow, mainly in technology and media sectors, and some extent healthcare. But beyond that, not at all. And by the way, even if it was quite a big take up, what we're finding typically in businesses is that in any sector, it's usually about 18 to 23% of organizations that really go ahead on the technology, whatever the technology, in fact, and using it for long-term value. And the rest of them are really struggling to actually work out how to utilize it to any sort of business potential. This is new technologies I'm talking about. So, even where there is take up, it's a very small 1/5 minority of the organizations in question in that sector.
Yeah.
There are reasons for that, which I'll come to later.
I mean, MIT recently said that 95% of AI projects are failing. Going back to, say, the times that Tarique's been talking about with this use of technology, I mean, is there that much that's new in all of this? It does seem that a lot of companies have been saying to their computer staff, this AI thing, we've got to be using it. And the computer staff have said, oh, we're already using it. Yeah. We've been doing it for a while.
I mean, the same thing happened with the internet. The same thing happened with the uptake of Unix. If you remember, back in the 80s, the open systems. It was ever the case that once it becomes a hype, once it becomes a thing that you have to be part of, or you're not part of the game at all, then anything goes, doesn't it? And anything becomes an AI project. Because AI is so loosely defined, because the whole notion of what is an intelligent system, because that is so poorly defined, anything that you throw at it at this point in time, in implementation terms, anything, you could argue, it's got AI part of it.
This has all been terribly negative, though, isn't it? It's been terribly negative. I mean, come on, Tarique, there must be some uses for AI. You're coming up with them, aren't you?
Yeah, sure. So people who are building so-called AI chips, such as NVIDIA and others, they are minting money. And they are aware that they are selling has a lot of value, because that is enabling the data centers, AI data centers, compute, machinery that has to be put behind the LLM, very, very compute industry models and so on. So that is a genuine money-making area where AI is making money for hardware people, chip people, okay? On the application side, enterprise is failing left and right in actually deploying AI-based solutions in their enterprise. Reason being, they're not enough feature set, not enough backing by the properly trained staff to use those tools. And those tools that we see right now, I have a terminology for this, which is AI-fication of enterprise. When people say that it is going to be $1 trillion economy and this and that, actually, when AI-fication of enterprise happens, That will be the biggest money maker, and it will happen not now, but in future. So, but for that to happen, you have to have very well trained AI workforce, which the industry is lacking. Therefore, the projects fail left and right. The tool sets that the industry has right now or is producing is not enough, is not sufficient. For example, planning, agentic, you keep on hearing about agentic AI. Agentic AI cannot be, enabled without further very deep research in one of the 6 areas of AI, which subfields of AI, which is called auto planning. There is no research going on in auto planning. Everybody is machine learning, machine learning, machine learning. One more sentence, Peter, and then I'll keep quiet. Okay? You know the famous saying by Abraham Maslow, okay? When the only tool you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. Since these people, the so-called self-styled entrepreneurs this time, I'm an entrepreneur. I have nothing against entrepreneurship. There should be some honesty to this, right? So use like our colleague here, Neil, I think, said that AI has become a marketing terminology. So they go to the venture capitalist, oh, there's an AI there. Venture capitalist most of the time is unable to or unwilling to look under the hood. Is there any AI there or not? Here, take the money, do something.
Mm.
So the end product is not capable of supporting anything meaningful in the enterprise. So the enterprise is failing project after project.
Peter, can I just say the research I've done is in the challenges this represents. I'm not negative about the technology. Enough people are boostering the technology and I'm not knowledgeable on the technology itself. What I'm knowledgeable about and what I've researched intensively for about 40 years is how is the organizational and management challenges of bringing technology into play. And those are massive. And AI is not unusual in that respect. It's true of previous technologies. Typically, it takes 8 to 26 years to get a technology, a new big technology embedded in organizations and delivering real business potential when you're looking at businesses. And the real challenges are management and organization. I'd say, as a rule of thumb, 70% of the problems and challenges are managerial and organizational, and only 30% are technical. That's not to say that there aren't technical problems that are problematic. I mean, I developed a AI imperfections test, for example. You've got 9 things to solve before you start using AI technically. I could run through it very quickly. Bogs habif, I call it, just to remind myself what. Brittle, opaque, greedy, shallow, hackable, amoral, biased, invasive, and fakeable. All those things are challenges to organizations before they start using it in a real risk areas of a business. And then you really need managerial and human talent to drive out the business value from these technologies. Any technology. It's not an unusual set of problems, but it is a real underrated set of challenges.
Let's just take one of those things. There's a thing that strikes me, something you're a particular expert in. You're a former hacker as well as all of your other accomplishments. If the data isn't secure, then AI becomes a very, very questionable exercise, doesn't it? And we don't seem to be spending sufficient money on AI, on cyber to begin with.
It comes in 2 different areas, doesn't it? There's the risk of the data that went into creating the large language model in the first place. It's collecting data from a vast array of places, including your own data, your activity on the internet, your habits in creating email. Those are all grist to the mill. So there's that side of it. There is the side in which some aspects of your query can end up getting out into the wild. It's a very sort of specialist way that happens, to do with getting things out of the sandbox. But it can have a data leakage aspect. There's that. Then there is the fact that you're moving vast amounts of data to these centralized processing resource places, they are the size of a small town, taking immense amounts of power, immense amounts of graphics cards, as Tarique said. Your data is going there. Something is happening to it, and something comes back out the other end. How it gets there, where it gets processed, who owns it at which point, how the copyright and the protection and all the rest of it goes around that, I don't believe anybody yet knows.
Well, I don't know. Tarique's been gagging to jump in there because that's one of the things that he's a bit of an expert on. Tarique, can you do that? Is that a problem?
Oh, yes, this is a very big problem. And actually, our customers ask us about this all the time. See, the thing is that right now, all those LLM models, for example, which have gained a lot of prominence and popularity, they are stored somewhere in the data centers or AI data centers. They are completely opaque. There is no transparency. Nobody outside of those companies even knows how that thing works. So, and it is ingesting when you basically submit enterprise confidential information to those sites to get your answers and things like that. Yeah, the AI data center people, the LLM people, owner of that, they are gaining because their LLM is learning more and more from that data and is getting kind of smarter, okay, so to speak. But how is that information being misused or used for other purposes? Nobody knows. So the enterprise has become very reluctant right now to basically work on that model of LLM as a service, for example. So there's a big push from the enterprise now to have DLM, okay, domain language model, which is specific to the enterprise's own domain of discourse. And excuse me. So our product actually does a good job DLM rather than LLM. And the enterprise, so this is the thing which I was alluding to earlier. Once the enterprise specific tools are going to become more prevalent, it is going to get more acceptability in the enterprise. But right now, data security and data leakage via these, the LLM style of services is a huge, huge concern in the enterprise.
Is that one of the reasons why people have begun to say, hang on, we don't want to have any responsibility for this. We want to be able to develop these technologies and be given a complete get out of jail free card. We saw that from Donald Trump, and unfortunately for him, it was knocked out of his big, beautiful bill. But is that going to be an issue in the development of AI, that there is this vulnerability because people are wanting to develop the technology?
If it's going to have a big impact and it's going to be used in areas of high risk, it's going to be a major issue. And if it's not addressed, then it's going to have unforeseen, unanticipated adverse consequences. I think that's one really big issue in the future. But I think the bigger problem I have, and Neil especially, well, both my colleagues would have the same point, I think, it is when it falls into the hands of bad actors, people who are not going to act in nice ways towards the rest of us.
Yeah.
And that is greatly underestimated. It's already happening. And it's under the radar at the moment, this aspect of who's using it, for what purposes, if it's going to have, and I think it is going to have a long-term big impact, if it's going to have a big impact in the future, I think that is a real problem.
Neil?
Yeah, I mean, you can jailbreak many of the controls that are put down on the side of AI. I mean, you cannot go to it, for instance, and say, how would I go about assassinating somebody? That will not get through. But if you go at it as I am researching a book that will follow the same sort of chain of logic as an attack on something, if you jailbreak it with sufficiently complicated and sort of coercive statements to begin with, then you can say, so how do I murder the President of the United States? How do I, whatever. Yeah, bad actors will use it. We already know that they're using it in things like video deep fakes. There have been examples of frauds carried out, some quite successfully large frauds carried out using stuff that comes out of deep fakes. I don't know about you, but I have seen a massive uptick of email messages come to me purportedly from friends saying, can we have a quick exchange on email because I need to borrow some money off of you? And the cost of doing those is so low now.
Yeah.
The fact that only a tiny percentage of people will react to it doesn't matter. The cost is so low that any benefit you get is quite substantial. So we've seen an awful lot of those now.
Yeah, I like that. The cost of villainy is going down as a result of AI.
Oh, yes, right. Yeah. I mean, the cost of villainy was always going down because of the access to the internet, the fact that everybody now uses internet banking, the fact that everybody's got an email address, the fact that everything comes through my magic phone. The cost of villainy has been falling through my career, basically.
Well, the Russian propaganda lives off the social media virtually for free.
Oh, yes. I mean, when we get to the point of nation state bad actors, which is where the real problems start to happen. That is going to be atrocious over the next few years.
Yeah.
Whether or not AI succeeds, whether or not AGI gets developed, whether or not we see some, fantastic AI overload or not, the damage will be done.
But that's the interesting point, isn't it? Because according to a lot of the police and intelligence people that I speak to, they say that the hackers are actually avoiding the big AI models because they don't trust them. What they are saying is that the hackers they don't trust them because they see nation states behind them, Leslie. But what they are doing is the thing that Neil is talking about. They're utilizing its fake potential to target individuals and to use those to access their email or their credentials or whatever it is so that they can go in that way. That seems to be the point where the hackers are finding them interesting. Now, Tarique, in all of this, then, let's come back to this great AI god that Neil's mentioned. Are we going to get there? Are LLMs going to take us to the great AI in the sky?
No, unfortunately not. See, LLM is a good one of the many required building blocks to reach the AGI, nirvana or whatever. There are so many other, like 5 other sub-disciplines of AI, in which, first of all, LLM does not have any built-in capability to do any reasoning or inference. Right now, all of these guys, the big LLM owners, and I'm not going to take any name, but you know who. There are only a few of them. You can count them. So they are now realizing that, okay, their LLM that thingy cannot do any kind of inference. It cannot do any kind of reasoning. So now they are trying to retrofit heuristics on top of that epistemological model, which LLM or neural network is, and try to do the job of a logic-based reasoning or geometric reasoning, let alone, God forbid, causality reasoning, the mother of all the reasonings. These are sub-disciplines of AI. Unless substantial research and R&D and breakthrough happens in these subfields, okay, which is very possible if AI becomes again an R&D discipline in the universities and research circles. Then probably in 25 years from now, we will have enough results in these disciplines to even talk about real AGI. Anybody who claims right now that, in 5 years we are going to have AGI, or our version 5.0 or 6.0 will have AGI, they're lying.
Okay. Leslie, I'll let you come in.
I'd like to make one point that I think we've it's always overlooked with AI, which is basically it's probability statistics that's here, and very often the statistics is not well done, and this is the problem within the opacity of AI. People tend to believe figures because they seem to have a precision which is very misleading. But if you think of AI as really being probability statistics based on big data on steroids, backed by massive computing power, memory, and storage, you can't avoid that. And then if you bring in Neil's point, which is the data is not necessarily any getting better over the years, and some of it increasingly is going to be AI generated data out there that's being utilized by new AI to create data sets. You've got to look at where this is grounded, the AI. It's not flying in the sky. It's based on probability statistics and data that's increasingly getting corrupted. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of wisdom of the crowds on steroids, isn't it? It's collecting together.
Phrase.
Sorry?
That's a nice phrase.
I mean, that's all it's doing. It's taking what everybody else has said and mushing all that together and picking out the most probable sequence of sentence structure that follows on from that. Or it's getting pictures and abstracting something from it. I think until you can get it to solve a problem. I spent ages trying to get some of I think it was an early ChatGPT to solve the riddle of the fox, the hen, and the river that you have to try and get across with grain. You know the riddle that I made.
Yeah.
And I explained it to the AI in that sort of vague, hand-wavy sort of way that you do, and it had no idea what was going on. I can set that challenge to my granddaughter, and she can do it.
Well, guys, I think there's a lot of points that have been raised here, and I think there's room for a lot more debate, and hopefully we'll all return at some point. From my perspective, we've talked about a bubble here, or maybe a gold rush, and definitely in the old gold rushes of the past, it was the people selling the picks and the shovels that made the most money. And if you look at the people selling the various different tools at this moment in time, they're certainly making a fortune. But it's yet to be seen whether the real winners here will be simply the chip makers and the facility companies, or the one real leader in AGI and sort of LLMs at this moment in time, or whether there will be a lot of other winners, and a lot of the money invested in the moment could well be lost. I want to thank all of our guests today for coming along and for lending their time to this debate, and to Chorology for being our sponsor. We look forward to picking up this debate and taking it further forward, and it's going to be fascinating to see how all this rolls out. And we're grateful to you all for your time, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.